2018 NFL Draft has now played 7 years in the NFL, giving us more than enough of a sample size to determine how good their selections were. I mean, in the top 10 alone, we have 8 Pro Bowlers, a very wide range of quarterback hits and misses, and several players you have probably already forgotten about. So in today's video, let's see how the 2018 NFL Draft class is getting on 7 years later. Now, first up, we have Baker Mayfield, a Heisman Trophy winning stud from Oklahoma. The Browns needed a savior, and this guy appeared to be just that at times, but there were plenty of disappointments as well. He really did flip-flop between good and bad seasons with the Browns, not helped by injury, but did provide a magical playoff victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2020, their first playoff win in nearly 2 decades. However, for some reason, this still wasn't enough to convince the Browns front office to keep him, and instead decided to sign the controversial Deshaun Watson. There were really red flags all over Watson's career and also the scandal that he was going through at the time when they did sign him, but the Browns decided to continue to go after him. They got him, and well, it now looks like one of the worst trades and signings of all time. As I said right now, Watson floundered as arguably the worst trade in NFL history, while Baker found a home in Tampa Bay and became the quarterback Cleveland wanted him to be when they took him first overall. It's not really ideal for the Browns, but a great story of perseverance and good quality quarterbacking from Baker, who enjoyed back-to-back playoff bursts with Tampa Bay in 2023 and 2024, as well as his first 2 Pro Bowl selections. One pick after Baker, though, we have our first. Yes, there are multiple generational picks in this draft, but the first of them, it was Saquon Barkley. The outrageously talented running back from Penn State was compared to LaDainian Tomlinson in college and delivered like him in the pros, leading the league with 2,028 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. Barkley continued to deliver at a high level for the Giants, but injuries and dismal line play led to a couple of down seasons before the team ultimately let him walk in 2024, which is a move they regretted almost immediately. As we all know, Barkley has now signed with the division rival Philadelphia Eagles, benefiting greatly from an elite offensive line en route to over 2,000 yards, a first-team All-Pro, and his Super Bowl appearance in his first year away from the Big Apple. From backwards hurdles to franchise records in 1 year with Philly, Saquon is undoubtedly one of the best running backs to ever play the game point-blank period, and our second player to have more success away from the team that did draft him. And on the topic of success away from the team that did draft you, we have the 3rd overall selection, with that being Sam Darnold. While he was in New York, he was pretty much resigned to bust status, highlighted by his infamous seeing ghosts moment.
Seeing ghosts.
A similarly disappointing stint in Carolina couldn't revive his career before he learned about competent offensive play as a backup in San Francisco in 2023, setting him up for a career year in Minnesota in 2024. And as we all know now, JJ McCarthy went down with that season-ending knee injury and thrusted Sam Darnold into the starting role, and well, the dude made the most of it without a doubt. Except for weeks 18 and the wild card round where it kind of looked like old Sam Darnold. But nonetheless, he still had 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions en route to a 14-win record, which made Sam an easy pick for the Pro Bowl in the NFC, although 2 rough performances when it mattered most in week 18 and the wild card round left a sour taste in people's mouths. So it really does beg the question, was he really fixed, or was this really just the old same Sam Darnold? Denzel Ward was the pick at 4th overall, giving Cleveland their 2nd pick inside the top 4. And as we all know, picking a cornerback inside the top 5, that's always going to be a risk, and you really do expect them to perform. And well, that's exactly what Denzel Ward has done. 4 Pro Bowls in 7 completed seasons and a $100 million contract in 2022 tells you all you need to know about how happy the Browns were with this pick. Another defensive player was taken 5th overall in the form of Bradley Chubb. The physically imposing NC State defensive end dominated in his rookie season, collecting 12 sacks and 14 tackles for loss. Unfortunately though, an injury as a sophomore derailed things slightly, kickstarting a run of 4 consecutive seasons in which he averaged just 4 sacks per year. Chubb certainly posed a threat as a useful edge rusher, but didn't quite live up to the hype of a top 5 pick in Denver.
He is, and believe me, last year I played with him, and I'm wondering how long is it going to take him to realize that I passed on him and took Bradley and Chubb instead?
He moved to Miami in 2022 and had 11 sacks in 2023, which was promising until an ACL tear in week 17 ruled him out for the remainder of the 2023 and all of the 2024 season. Now, with the 6th pick in the 2018 draft, though, the Indianapolis Colts selected guard Quentin Nelson, who was viewed as a can't-miss prospect on the O-line. He proved to be just that, earning a Pro Bowl in all 7 years of his career, including 2 first-team All-Pros and 3 3 second-team All-Pros, which is exactly what you want from a top 10 pick. The Bills were up next, taking a risk on quarterback Josh Allen, who was viewed as much more of a prospect than the rest of the 2018 quarterback class, including somehow Josh Rosen, who was selected after him. Allen did prove to be somewhat of a project in his first 2 seasons in the NFL, but after grinding through some work with a 3D technology specialist in the 2020 offseason to improve his throwing motion, Allen saw his completion rate go from 58.8% in 2019 to 69.2% in 2020. I mean, with that improved accuracy and the arrival of Stephon Diggs, Allen moved into the elite tier of quarterbacks, where he has remained ever since, leading the Bills to 5 straight division titles while also throwing for at least 4,200 yards and 29 touchdowns every year between 2020 and 2023. I mean, honestly, when you factor in his rushing ability that he does have too, that honestly just makes him one of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks of all time. And hopefully he will be getting that Super Bowl ring that just has eluded him for so many years now and just keeps getting to the AFC Championship game, but just can't get past the Chiefs. At pick number 8 though, with the Chicago Bears, we have them taking a linebacker in Roquan Smith. Smith has been one of the best all-around linebackers since he entered the NFL, operating as a sideline-to-sideline tackling machine while also popping up with at least 1 interception in every single season. With Chicago not really going anywhere in 2022, they traded Smith to Baltimore, where the off-ball linebacker really hit his stride. He's collected over 140 tackles in 3 straight seasons, earning himself 3 consecutive first-team All-Pro selections to go along with his 2 second-team All-Pro selections and 3 Pro Bowls. One spot after Roquan Smith, though, came Mike McGlinchey, an offensive tackle taken by the San Francisco 49ers. And surprisingly enough, Mike McGlinchey is the first and only player to achieve no Pro Bowl selections inside of the first round of this draft. He was a solid enough tackle, but not someone who really lived up to the top 10 draft selection, which encouraged the 49ers to let him walk in 2023. And after signing a huge $87.5 million deal with the Broncos, Big Mike has once again showed promise at times, but on the whole, underwhelmed slightly based on his price tag. The 4th and honestly just the most interesting quarterback prospect to come off the board though, well, we all know who that was taken by the Arizona Cardinals. That was Josh Rosen, who has to be the biggest bust and just the most recognizable bust from this draft class. I mean, in fact, Josh Rosen was so bad that the Cardinals moved on from him after his rookie season, which produced just 2,278 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions at a 55% completion rate. In the years since, as a backup or practice squad player for various teams, he's only managed to tack on 1 more touchdown and 7 more interceptions, taking his final tally to 12 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. One player who isn't a bust though is Minkah Fitzpatrick, who went at pick number 11 to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, despite a solid rookie season in which he had 80 tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, and 1 touchdown, Minkah was traded by the Dolphins after just 2 games of his sophomore campaign. This worked in the safety's favor though, who picked up 5 interceptions in black and yellow throughout the rest of that campaign, kickstarting a successful stint that has seen him collect 3 first-team All-Pros and 5 Pro Bowls, while also leading the league with 6 interceptions in 2022. Like, I mean, Miami's loss was Pittsburgh's gain, with Fitzpatrick operating as one of the league's best safeties ever since. And now at picks 12 and 13, we'll combine them because we have a couple of hefty nose tackles, with Vita Vea going to Tampa Bay at 12 and Deron Payne going to Washington at pick 13. Both players have been consistent, reliable performers for their team, with Vita Vea winning a Super Bowl in 2020 and Payne posting an impressive 11.5 sacks in 2022. Each player has earned a very lucrative second contract to keep them at the heart of their respective D-lines as well. Now, the New Orleans Saints, they had pick 14, but they didn't have it. They had to trade for it, and they traded 2 first-rounders for this pick. So at the time too, everybody thought, oh, the Saints are trading up. They're going to take Lamar Jackson probably here. They need a quarterback. Drew Brees is gone, so we need a quarterback, right? Traded 2 first-rounders to draft Marcus Davenport. Like, the defensive end, who went on to post 0 seasons with double-digit sacks for the team, had 0.5 sacks in 2022, and then was discarded by the team, making this an unbelievable waste of draft capital. For pick 15, we swapped from the defensive line to the offensive line, with tackle Colton Miller going to the Oakland Raiders. Initially, this pick looked horrendous, as Miller gave up an outrageous 16 sacks as a rookie, but he has since rounded into a reliable and sturdy option at one of the league's most important positions, earning PFF pass blocking grades of over 79 in every season between 2020 and 2024. The Buffalo Bills were back on the clock at pick 16, and with this pick, it started a defensive run of just stars that they would continue to draft. draft. Their pick was linebacker Tremaine Edmunds, who had over 100 tackles in all 7 seasons in the NFL. He was a very good player for Buffalo throughout his entire rookie contract, to the extent that he was just out of their price range after a 5th-year option had played out. So he packed his bags for Chicago, where he's delivered 2 more rock-solid seasons, highlighted by a career-best 4 interceptions in 2023. And now following Edmunds, we have 2 defensive backs that are just superstars now, with safety Derwin James going to the LA Chargers at pick 17 and cornerback Jair Alexander going to the Green Bay Packers at pick 18. I mean, while both players have struggled with injuries, more so Jair Alexander in the later stages of his career so far, both dudes are just dominant at their position and are superstars in this league right now. Like, I mean, going up against #1 wide receivers has been Alexander's bread and butter, earning 2 Pro Bowl selections and 2nd-team All-Pro selections, whereas James has become one of the most imposing safeties in the NFL, earning 4 Pro Bowl nods to go along with 2 first-team All-Pro selections and 2 for the 2nd team. Both Alexander and James are still going strong for the teams who have drafted them and are going to, I assume, for the next 5 years. Linebacker Leighton Vander Esch was selected 19th by the Dallas Cowboys, where he thrived as a rookie, as his 140 total tackles, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups earned him a Pro Bowl and a 2nd-team All-Pro selection. Unfortunately, though, he really never got back to that stride in his career, never having triple-digit tackle numbers or ever earning another Pro Bowl selection either. Unfortunately, his career was also cut short after a neck injury suffered in 2023, which landed him on the IR and ultimately led to the Cowboys releasing him in 2024. He retired shortly after due to medical concerns, bringing an end to a very solid, albeit short career. Rounding out the top 20, though, was Frank Ragnow, a center from Arkansas, who has been a rock at the middle of the Detroit Lions offensive line ever since. I mean, after giving up only 4 sacks as a rookie, he's given up just 6 in the 6 years since, earning 4 Pro Bowls and 3 2nd-team All-Pros along the way. Like, I mean, honestly, for Detroit, it doesn't get much better when you pick an offensive lineman like that in the middle of the draft. Immediately after him, though, came another center in Billy Price, who went to Cincinnati. Bengals fans will always rue their draft positioning behind Detroit in 2018, as Price hasn't come close to Ragnow's career success. He started just 19 games for the Bengals before being shipped off to New York, kicking off a journeyman phase of his career that lasted just 2 years, and his last snap in the NFL came in 2022. Linebacker Rashaan Evans was up next, who followed up a promising first season in Tennessee with several frustrating years. He never quite took off in the way that the defensive-minded head coach Mike Vrabel wanted, making contributions but never really quite delivering as a first-rounder. He signed with Atlanta in 2022 and delivered a career-high 159 tackles before moving to Dallas, where he managed just 9 tackles in 9 games as a backup before being waived for possession of marijuana. And definitely, while not being technically a bust, Evans really never lived up to the expectations everyone had for him. Another frustrating player arrived at pick 23, where tackle Isaiah Wynn was selected by the New England Patriots. I mean, Wynn looked good when on the field, but managed just 8 games as a rookie and 10 as a sophomore because of injuries. He managed to play all 16 games in 2021, but more injuries prevented him from hitting double digits again in every season between 2022 and 2024. Wynn moved to Miami in 2021 and will be hoping to stick around, but his injury history definitely doesn't help his case at all. Now at pick 24, though, we have DJ Moore heading to Carolina to be their new wide receiver 1. As we all know, DJ Moore has talent for days and is a classic case of being held back by a dodgy quarterback play, which came from the likes of Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, and Baker Mayfield, most of whom delivered their worst football when they were in Carolina. Nevertheless, though, Moore kept plugging away with 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons as a Panther before being moved to Chicago in 2023 and posting a career-high 1,364 yards and 8 touchdowns. Moore's never been selected to the Pro Bowl, but if he can continue to improve his chemistry with the team's 2024 first overall pick, Caleb Williams, it's hard to see him not getting one under his belt. And with sticking on the offensive side of the ball too, tight end Hayden Hurst was the pick at 25, although he didn't last with the Baltimore Ravens for very long. They also selected Mark Andrews in round 3 and quickly decided he was the better option, shipping Hurst off to Atlanta in 2020. A career-high 571 yards arrived in Atlanta, but things declined from there on out, with Hurst never threatening the total again in either Atlanta, Cincinnati, or Carolina, where he played in 2024. Calvin Ridley at pick 26, though, had a bit more luck with the Falcons, posting over 800 yards in each of his first 2 seasons with the team after being their 26th overall pick in 2018. He then took the leap in 2020 with an impressive 1,374 yards and 9 touchdowns, good enough for a 2nd-team All-Pro selection, before derailing his career with a betting-related suspension that wiped out his entire 2022 season. I mean, still, his tape meant he had plenty plenty of suitors, meaning he rebounded nicely with a 1,000-yard season in Jacksonville and Tennessee in 2023 and 2024. At pick 27, we have Rashad Penny, and honestly, the dude did nothing in the NFL. I think he had one 500-yard season and then really didn't do anything else for the Seahawks, so chalk him up to a bust, or at least just a waste of a pick in the first round, I guess, right? It also makes it worse too because Nick Chubb was taken, like, I think in the second round or just shortly after he was taken too, so that's why it stings even more for Seahawks fans. History was made though at pick 28 as Terrell Edmunds joined his brother Tremaine at the pro level, heading to Pittsburgh to become their new starting safety. Edmunds was a reliable and productive player for Pittsburgh, starting 75 games for the team throughout his first 5 years. He then bounced around the league on 4 different teams between 2023 and 2024, eventually coming back to Pittsburgh, and while he never developed into a franchise-changing player, Edmunds was a solid contributor and a reliable option in the Steelers secondary throughout those first 5 years of his career. Pick 29 saw the Jacksonville Jaguars add Tavon Bryan to their impressive defensive line, who turned out to be more of a rotational piece than the game changer they were hoping for. Rounding out the top 30 though, we have a player that the Vikings selected that honestly just didn't live up to much of the expectations that they did expect of him, with that being Mike Hughes. He did have a pick 6 in his debut and it suggested a bright future, but this ultimately proved to be the high point of his time in Minnesota. He played just 6 games as a rookie because of an ACL tear before earning just 5 more starts between 2019 and 2020, triggering a move to Kansas City. He then signed with Detroit in 2022 and Atlanta in 2023, confirming his status of more of a rotational piece rather than a first-round talent that Minnesota was hoping for. Running back Sony Michel was the pick at 31, heading to the New England Patriots to be a battering ram behind Tom Brady. And while Michel never delivered game-changing plays in the regular season, never posting 1,000 yards, he became somewhat of a postseason hero, helping the Patriots win a Super Bowl in 2018 with a record-breaking 6 rushing touchdowns as a rookie in the playoffs. He then won a Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021 before fading away in 2022 and not signing with another team since. His unusual 5-year career produced just 3,243 yards and no Pro Bowls, but he did retire with 2 Super Bowl rings and some crucial plays under his belt to make them happen. And with that brings us to the final pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. And as we all know that's where Lamar Jackson became a Baltimore Raven. After sitting for most of his rookie season, Lamar Jackson exploded as a sophomore for 3,127 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions through the air to go along with 1,206 yards and 7 more scores on the ground. This elite level of dual threat dominance has stuck with Lamar throughout his entire career, earning him a 70-24 win-loss record, multiple MVP awards, and 3 first-team All-Pros. However, a 3-5 record in the playoffs is acting as an easy target for criticism from his haters. And yes, while Lamar has struggled at times in big games, it is important to note that he is also operating in an insanely difficult AFC and has thrown for 7 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions over his last 4 playoff outings. Winning in January is damn hard, and while he does deserve some criticism, it shouldn't diminish too much from the outrageously good play we have become accustomed to seeing out of him year in and year out. Without a doubt, this was the steal of the 2018 draft, and there will be many teams who felt foolish for letting him fall so far in this draft. And if you want to see the 3 wide receivers selected before AJ Brown, then click this video right here.